Happy holidays, Santa Clarita. You're probably just out there running around and doing errands and buying presents and planning cookies and whatever you do, but I think you ought to listen to us. This is Dr. Judith Curts, and I'm here with Dr. Gregory Jenkins and Alicia Dukoff. So we are here to talk about something fun today. We are going to talk about 21st century sex therapy and sexuality in the 21st century. You know, it's done the same way, but it's a little different in attitude. So we want to talk about it and discuss it today. So how are you all?
I'm doing great. I think this is a great topic, and we should have talked about it last year.
Right ahead of time.
Before I get older.
Yeah, well, here you are. Do you know?
What is 21st century sex therapy? Like, what is that?
It's, we've talked about the millennials. And so we want the millennials to understand what sex therapy is. It may not be the way that we introduced sex therapy in the 80s. And it was really in the 80s with Dr. Ruth. She's the one that legitimized sex therapy.
Mm-hmm. And she bothered a lot of people, though, too.
Did she?
Yeah,
How?
She upset a lot of people.
I loved her.
Oh my God, I did too.
I went to the same college as her, so I like her ideas.
Yeah. But she was very controversial. I don't even think it was.
She's mild.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't even know if it's a time period thing. Yeah. I think when you bring topics like sex to the table, a lot of people get kind of like they cover themselves up. They're like, I don't really want to talk about that right now. And Dr. Ruth really went for it at a time maybe that I don't know if it's about time period. I think some people listened to her and got very jolted in how they perceived themselves as sexual beings. It questioned a lot of things. It pushed the envelope in a certain way. And maybe that's always a good thing to do regardless of time period.
And that's what we're doing.
And that's what we're going to do right now.
I saw this movie once, and it was a Star Trek space movie, in the future movie. And the way that people made love is they would cuddle up, take these pills, and the pills would make them have an orgasm.
That was a movie.
That was a movie. And so then they had some problems in the world, and the guy would want to dating somebody, and the woman says, "Do you mean exchange body fluids?"
Whoa.
That was what they called sex in the future. So I hope we're not
the taboo thing.
I hope we're not having it today.
No. I don't think we are at all. In fact, it's funny that we thought about I thought of Dr. Ruth. Anyway,
I love her.
I think she's milquetoast compared to how we look at sexual issues and sex therapy today. However, we are, I believe, my belief, that as in terms of personal sexuality and the sexuality of our culture, I think we're adolescents. I don't think we've grown up yet. What do you all think?
I think you should survey the Pornhub.
What is that? Let's hear about the Pornhub.
It's a sex site that I heard from Dr. Judy here.
She's got her notes in front of her. She's got the answer. Let's hear. What is Pornhub?
Pornhub is a big site that is visited by a lot of people. In fact, I love statistics. 1.68 million viewers per year.
Wow.
And they go on it often, Pornhub. And Justin, have you ever heard of Pornhub? Come on, Justin.
Did you really just put me on the spot about
I did.
a porn website at my place of work?
Yes, I did.
You work at so many places.
I have no comment.
Thank you. All right.
Back to his computer.
Never want to out anybody. And that's why I'm saying we're in adolescence as far as sex therapy goes. Because people don't want to talk about their sexuality if they have a specific fetish, or if they are wild and crazy between the sheets. It doesn't mean that they can't go to work and be an absolutely responsible person with integrity.
Right.
But we tend to judge people that way. Oh, well, if they're swinging, that means they're this or that. Not true. Not true.
I think
at all.
it speaks to where we are right now in our period of time, even though I think the whole sex issue, as I mentioned before, really spans across lots of different generations, lots of different time periods. I think people are always very kind of conservative about their view of themselves regarding themselves sexually. And then, of course, society predominates that feeling. But right now, I feel like more people are aware that it's not just black or white.
It's fluid.
Look, that movie that came out with the book, 50 Shades of Grey, was a great pushing forward in this movement of people realizing you can be kinky, whatever that word means to you, and also be a quote unquote, valid, respectable human being.
You can be a librarian.
Yes, you can be anybody.
Or a doctor in this community.
Exactly.
We don't belong in boxes, basically, is what this means. Things are not black and white. We want to move forward past that idea that you are one way or another. People are incredibly fluid beings. There are 50 Shades of Grey. There are more than 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades Darker is coming out in February.
Right.
Did you all know? We should all three go together to see 50 Shades.
We'll have a show on it.
Only if I have to.
Yeah, that's we're just
going to have to drag him along.
I'm going now.
All right.
Sign me up.
But
we'll get a party van to go with it.
I think we're such a sex negative culture. We still are. We think, we know everything, and we've read the books, and we've seen the movies, and we've got the internet. But we are truly still a sex negative culture.
What does sex negative mean, though, like in today's culture?
Well, I think we're judgmental. We don't. We are not, here's this word that is so overused, authentic. We are, there's a term, we have SAD that's a diagnosis, which, is a seasonal
affective disorder.
Yeah, well, I got a new
Maybe
one
it's
for
sexual
SAD.
affective disorder.
Oh, yeah.
No, so a new one is sexual authenticity disorder.
Wow, what is that?
We aren't being authentic. Not with other people. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's nobody else's business, but we aren't being authentic with ourselves. I think we shame ourselves about thoughts and fantasies, and we then don't bring them to the surface with our partners. And
I love that.
Potential lovers.
I love that you've just come up with a new word for a new meaning for SAD, S-A-D. Sexual authenticity disorder. That is brilliant.
Yes.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So the other SAD, the other SAD that I know about that works only. It's really bad for people in the winter, right?
And so light works.
Oh, okay. So we have this sunlight. So we have the tanning booth we use.
Yes.
So we could say that sexual authenticity disorder kind of works the same way. You are not bringing out your own light of your sexuality. You are being affected by the lack of that light. Just like in SAD, the seasonal affective disorder, you get depressed when there's a lack of sunlight, bad weather. If you are in that sexual inauthenticity, you're not bringing out your own light of your true self. You're not allowing yourself to bask in your own light of your sexuality.
Many people shame themselves for even having those bad thoughts. Gee, I want to tie somebody up. Safely. Gee, I'd like to be tied up. Gee, I want to be spanked. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. But we shame ourselves. Now, thank heaven for the internet. It's always not accurate, we know. But at least people, and I've had patients who would say, gosh, I thought I was the weirdest person in the world because of my fetish, but I found it on the internet and I'm just fine because there are a lot of people out there.
I think it's helped a lot of people. I think there, FetLife, which I think I brought up on this show, it's like a Facebook for fetishes and it's totally anonymous. So whoever's listening right now that, maybe your ears perked when we were, starting to talk about the fact that you are a valid human being and you are not this crazy sex addict, persona type that we've stereotyped in movies and things that, are like the crazy underworld of society. You are actually more than black or white. You can be kinky and also be this human being that has a normal day job. Maybe your ears just perked. There's something called FetLife. And that's where you can be on, totally anonymous, put out your fetishes, put out what you like. You can make a whole profile of yourself regarding this. And then others who have an interest in that can tune into you and you guys can meet up or not. But it's a way for you to at least express yourself and in a very anonymous way, show what you want to or not want to based on what you are into.
Guess what?
I think it helps a lot of people.
What?
We all, even Dr. Greg here, we all have our own personal erotic myth. It's the thing that gets us to orgasm. It's the thing that comes into our mind, even though we're kicking it out. Go away, I don't want to think of this. But that's the thing that drives us to orgasm, our personal erotic myth. It isn't that some people, because they're kinky, not at all. We're all kinky. We all have something. We have an erotic myth. And, if we think just the, what do we call it? The normal sexuality, which isn't normal at all.
I hate that word.
Isn't that awful? Horrible.
There's no such thing as normal for anybody listening right now.
No, there
does not exist. That's the biggest myth of all.
And so we have to all figure out what our own personal erotic myth is and be able to go with it. And it's even cooler if you can share it with your partner. I mean, how cool is that? And they accept it, and they don't say, "Oh, you're really weird."
Or maybe you're opening them up too. So you say, "Hey, I'm a little kinky in this way. Are you open to this? Maybe."
But let's not call it kinky, because kinky, I
like
think,
that word.
is a negative word.
Oh,
I think it's a. Yeah.
It means you're weird.
You're an oddball.
But, you're an oddball.
What's a better word then? I like the word kinky.
Personal erotic.
I think preferences.
Preferences.
Okay, preference. My preference
like
is to be tied up.
Match.com and whatever it's FetLive.
FetLife.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think so. And so we have to become, and truly the word is so overused, but we have to become more sexually authentic. What do you think?
I agree.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Dr. Jenkins.
Oh, yes. I'm right here.
Let
Putting
me
you on the
ask you.
spot.
And I think I've asked you this before, but maybe there are people out there that haven't heard it. When you're seeing patients in your office, do you ask them if they're having good sex?
No.
No, because it's not. How much of a medical issue does it become, really?
I think
you're a GP, you're a general practitioner.
I think sexual history is important if it's somebody comes in for a certain kind of illness.
Right.
Like an infection.
Or how about if they want a prescription for Viagra Cialis?
I think they should put that medicine over the counter.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I looked up Cialis the other day. There's a great app called Good RX. I want everybody to have
it's a great app. Good RX.
The best. Because I looked up one medication that at one place was $80 a month. At another place, same area within a mile, $20.
Yeah, my parents turned me on to it. It's a great app.
But I looked up Cialis. It was like $280.
It's since we have Obamacare, the prices of all drugs, including recreational drugs, have sky high. What used to be $10 for a suppository now is $120 for a suppository.
Wow.
No, I think I'd suffer.
No.
No. Okay.
You don't want to suffer.
I'd have to.
Depends on your infection, I would think.
You don't want to suffer.
Oh, okay.
Not for that.
If you have a parasite, you might not want to suffer.
Yeah,
I had malaria, and I remember going to Dr. Jenkins.
We sent her to Africa, and what happens?
She
gets malaria.
I came back. He used to call me tribal. He said, "Okay, you've come back tribal to us." I had malaria. They don't have the drug in this country that they prescribed to me there called Coartem. Apparently that's like illegal here. It wasn't FDA approved, but it helped. Anyway, Dr. Jenkins sent me to an infectious disease specialist who then wanted to do like an MRI on me and God knows what else. And it was just so funny because, from malaria, you can get all these other symptoms. You can get all these other issues, one of which being a sexual lack of sexual drive. If that's our thing today, if we're going to talk deeply about how people are today with sexuality, you might want to look at yourself and think maybe it's not just that you haven't opened up to your kink. Maybe there's a medical issue that is also predominating that, because during my time of having malaria, even though you don't get rid of it, there's less of a sexual drive when you're not feeling well. There's less of a sexual drive when something medically is happening to you. And I want your opinion on that, because she just asked you.
Yeah, definitely.
She just came in and asked you, what kind of clients you see in your offices, what kind of patients you have that may present with some kind of need for a sexual consultation, if it happens to follow along with some kind of medical issue.
Very seldom.
Okay, so not often.
Very often.
I didn't feel like having sex when I had malaria.
Yeah.
Like when you're not well.
When people don't feel well, whether it's stressful illness or medical illness, they're not thinking about sex.
No, but don't people ever come into you?
Just for a well person checkup.
Well, sometimes people, when I see them, they come in for a checkup, and it's always, and by the way, doctor, things don't work as good as they used to. Can you help me with that? So I order the right labs, and then when they come back, I give them the correct medicine that they need. But it's not like they come in right away. It's always at the end of the visit. They say, oh, by the way, doc, can you check this? Right.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we'd like to get across to everybody is speak to your doctor, and he'll say, well, you need to go see either Alicia or Dr. Kurtz.
Or a gynecologist.
Or refer out. And, of course, one of my issues is people who are not trained in sex therapy are doing sex therapy. There's no law against it here, I don't think, but I've had other therapists come up to me and say, gosh, I wish this person, I could get them to see you because here's the issue. And I said, well, what are you doing about it? Nothing. They are doing nothing about it. And so the person just stays there. So there's no sexual authenticity. There's no improving their sex life. And that's part of who we are.
Tell us some of the cases you're talking about that, like, maybe somebody's come to you saying they haven't done anything about these cases that they've seen. Maybe you see people in your office that have these certain cases that only a sex therapist would really be able to help with. Are you talking about like erectile dysfunction, or are you talking about something intrapersonal, something more like how they view themselves regarding what their fetish is?
How they view themselves, a lot of, finding that authenticity. And, I do the spiritual, the sexual, the psychotherapy and all that. You've got to have it as a combination.
Yes.
And I know you do a lot of spiritual kind of work. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so they used to call, we've had this conversation as a therapist back in the day. If you included anything regarding spirituality, it was seen as magical thinking. It was seen as like pie in the sky. That person's hanging crystals from their door. It's like, okay, they can't really be taken seriously in the scientific, empirically validated world.
Age.
Yes, New Age. And then people were deterred from that because they would look at that and go, well, that's not validated. That's not empirically validated, scientifically evidential proof that this works because it hasn't been approved by blah, 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 the board. I think now nowadays people are more open to other ways of viewing things. And the more holistic we become, and the word holistic no longer just means hanging crystals from your door and putting essential oils out. It's about mind, body, spirit. It's a whole thing. We're not just mind and body. We have a spirit in there. So when you say, oh, you deal with the spiritual side, well, I know you do too.
Yeah.
We're actually just dealing with the entire human being. There's more than just your mind and your body. And I guess we're going to go to commercial and talk about that afterwards.
We're going to go to break right now. This is the Doc and Doc show.
But if people want to call in, you should give them the number.
Oh, forget the number. 298-5487. 298-5487. If you have any questions, please call us right away and we'll be right back. Thank you.